¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Monday. Welcome, everybody. Sorry about that, folks. All right. Derry Bennett, a gay couple shot dead in Australia during the Sydney Mardi Gras. Jeez, that's unfortunate. Irked, how's it going? That's so sad. Hambless, the man, the myth, the legend. No, just the man. Heat, how's it going? Quad Bennett, Women's Month indeed. Welcome, 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 everybody. Sorry about that. I hope everyone's having, or I hope everyone had a awesome weekend. I'm already ready for the weekend. I'm already ready for the weekend, okay? And the week has just started. Folks, we have a few things to go through, so I think we should probably get started. Michael Hassler, how's it going? Folks, give me 1 second. I just had enough time to get my snack, so timing was perfect, just saying. Folks, before we get started, a couple of things. As always, consider joining the Discord. We do monthly movie nights on the last Saturday of every month. So, given that this is the first week of March, be warned. Okay, be warned. The countdown starts. The last Saturday of every month, we do movie nights. If you want to join in, check out the Discord. If you're on the YouTube, please consider subscribing. Please consider subscribing if you haven't done so. Like the stream, share, comment, do all the awesome stuff. Spread the word, okay? It really does help us out. If you want to support the channel while wearing some cool stuff, check out the merch store. All right. Whew, do we have a lot of stuff to go through? I think it's probably good to start here. It should be just before Easter Sunday. I forgot about. Wait, when is Easter Sunday? Is it the day before? When is Easter Sunday? Yeah, it's literally it's literally the last perhaps a resurrection theme movie. Maybe. Dune. Okay, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I am not opposed to that suggestion. March 31st. Yeah, it's the last yeah, it's right the day before, so I mean, I'm not exactly opposed to the suggestion for Dune, so hey, I mean, that's not a bad option, so there you go. All right, folks, let's get started. I think this is a good place to start.
There's been a lot of talk about the uncommitted vote in Michigan on Tuesday's primary, and before the vote, there were reports that the Biden administration was, quote, freaking out about it. But I mean, after 101,000 people voted uncommitted, we've all been pretty curious to hear what they think now, because if they were freaking out before the vote, they've got to be freaking out now. And we finally got a response, and it is genuinely astonishing that this is their response to disillusioned voters in Michigan. So campaign co-chair for Biden's 2024 campaign, Mitch Landrieu, says, quote, "We are going to continue to talk to them and then ask them to think about the choices and what the consequences are about electing somebody who wants to have a Muslim ban." In other words, you have no choice but to support Biden in November because you have nowhere else to go. You're not going to support Trump. We know that, so it's either genocide with Biden or genocide and a Muslim ban with Trump. So shut the fuck up and accept your choices. Amazing. First of all, saying...
Yeah, like, not even, like, giving, like, the option, not even giving, like, the option of, like, wow, you know, a lot of our constituents are saying that this is, like, really bad. Like, even having, like, the political acumen to be like, wow, we should probably... pander to our political base, who seems to be more and more disillusioned and angry. Nope, we're just gonna threaten them and double down on the nonsense. Yeah, noticing the freaking out anyways. Yeah, you could tell by, I mean, I don't know if you've seen liberal Twitter, but oh boy.
Vote for us because the other guy is worse, not necessarily the most inspiring message. I take it a lot of people aren't going to be motivated to get out and vote affirmatively for Biden. Maybe they will vote against Trump, but that right there, that's not going to mobilize voters. Second of all, they are basically saying implicitly that they're not going to change course, meaning that they are effectively willing to risk losing this election to Trump, all to continue to appease Netanyahu. It is so stunning. And I think that this hubris hinges on the fact that they think that the backlash to Biden supporting genocide is just contained to Michigan. But if they actually think that, then they are horribly mistaken, because activists in Colorado are organizing an uncommitted vote there too, following the success in Michigan's campaign. And the largest labor union in Washington state has endorsed an uncommitted campaign against Biden there as well. But, you know, I'm sure that they don't care because, well, Trump's worse, so shut the fuck up and accept my support for genocide. Or
yeah, and like what's also funny about the whole this whole thing is like, and also like these people are getting super mad. They're getting super mad that people are angry. One, angry at Biden. Two, are voting uncommitted in the primary, which is like the whole point of a primary is to hash these things out, right? Like the whole point of the primary is to do things like this. But I expect this kind of stuff from like the cult of like Donald Trump, but man, this is embarrassing. Yeah, look what we made him do. Exactly. As if like he can't like the answer can't just be like, oh shoot, our constituents are angry with us. Damn, we probably should change course. Like that can't be an answer. It's just like just bend the knee and get in line. That's it. Like that's the response. It's like, get in line. We don't have to pander to you. we don't have to acknowledge the issues here. Just get in line, vote for us, because the other guy's worse. Like, that's it. That's the argument that we're getting. We voters are the worst. We should just do what we're told. Exactly. There we go. That's more like it. That's more like it. Just do what you're told, okay? And like, they're getting super angry that this is happening in a primary. Okay? By the way, I completely support an uncommitted vote in wherever it's available going forward. Going forward, if you're a registered Democrat and you have the ability to do so, and your state has that option, I would vote. I would argue to vote for to vote uncommitted. Ain't no democracy when we got choices like this. True. Very true. It's just a thin veneer, an illusion. Just a casual commie. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. And now he has to step on our faces. Bend the knee.
Or get a Muslim ban too. Now, listen to Michigan responded, and this is what they said. Quote, "It's deeply offensive that President Biden keeps suggesting he has a messaging issue among Arab Americans and young people rather than a funding bombs issue. Biden's re-election chances will be judged by how much of Gaza is left standing by November. It is our hope that Biden chooses the people of America over sending Netanyahu a blank check for war and occupation." Yeah, well, I'm not holding my breath. Now, remember that ceasefire that he said that he was trying to broker when he was in an ice cream shop?
Yeah. That never happened. Oh, man. Yeah. Cool.
Before the vote took place? Well, he's already throwing cold water on that. And it is specifically because the government he's supporting committed what people are now calling the Flower Massacre. And in response, he says that that's going to complicate negotiations, which is to be expected. But the fact that they did this Flower Massacre should be a turning point, you would think. There's been many points where you think, man, maybe this should be a turning point for the Biden administration, bombing hospitals and schools and residential areas and cultural centers. So don't think that the Flower Massacre is really going to have an impact on him and sway him at all, but nonetheless.
No, it's not. I mean, like, he's pretty much like quadrupled down on this idea that he's just he's just going to allow Netanyahu to do whatever he wants. There is zero there is zero reason to believe that the Biden administration has any willingness or motivation to change course at this point.
This is a pretty big deal as well. Al Jazeera reports more than 100 Palestinians have been killed and some 700 others wounded after Israeli troops opened fire on hundreds waiting for food aid southwest of Gaza City, health officials say, as the besieged enclave faces an unprecedented hunger crisis. People had congregated at Al Rashid Street, where aid trucks carrying flour were believed to be on the way. Al Jazeera verified footage showing the bodies of dozens of killed and wounded Palestinians being carried onto trucks as no ambulances could reach the area. Quote, "We went to get flour. The Israeli army shot at us. There are many martyrs on the ground, and until this moment, we are withdrawing them. There is no first aid," said one witness. Reporting from the scene, Al Jazeera's Ishmael Al-Ghul said that after opening fire, Israeli tanks advanced and ran over many of the dead and injured bodies. Quote, "It is a massacre on top of the starvation threatening citizens in Gaza," he said. They murdered people who were trying to get flour. Now, in response, the IDF accused the Gazans that they murdered of looting the supplies and subsequently released this.
Yeah, The starved population swarmed aid trucks, is swarming aid trucks because, you know, they're starving. Apparently those are the people to blame. Yeah, cool. Nice meme. So now we have to swallow that pill or the pill of Trump potentially winning. Yeah, which isn't great, by the way. That's not exactly very good. A very good option, right? There is nothing that I can say. There's no winning here. That's the problem. And by no winning, I mean like there's no winning for the people here, at all. The issue with that is that if indeed it is true that there's no winning, why bother at all? Does that make sense? That's the dangerous thought process that a lot of people are running down. If there's no winning here, then what is my motivation to get out and participate, right? That's the problem here. That's the game the dangerous game that the Democratic Party has decided to play. They got the death penalty for not queuing up properly. Correct.
Footage here. I'm not going to play it for you, but there's a screenshot showing that dozens died from what they call overcrowding and trampling. So just stop for a moment and think about how twisted this response is from the IDF. They were implying that they had no choice but to open fire on them because they were trampling each other. So in order to protect people, they had to kill people, specifically more than 100 people. Makes total sense. These are the types of genocidal freaks that we're dealing with here. Now, they also accuse them of looting while pretending as if they're not also deliberately starving Palestinians who have been forced to eat grass and drink polluted water just to survive. So, I mean, when one aid truck finally is allowed in by Israel, yeah, they were a little bit desperate and they crowded the aid truck as any human being who was starving to death would do. But to put things into perspective, I want to play a clip from Melanie Ward of the organization.
Yeah, like what exactly are we expecting like to happen here? Right? Like what exactly are we like are we saying are we expecting like people that you yourself are deliberately starving? You're expecting them to just stand in line for one aid truck? To how many people? One aid truck to how many people? Never mind the amount of Israeli protesters who are blocking aid trucks. The ones that do get through, how many aid trucks per person are we getting? The answer to that is nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. So of course, people who are starving are going to try to survive and get food.
Called Medical Aid for Palestinians, because what she says here about what's happening is chilling.
Just explain first to our viewers why aid isn't being allowed in. Where is the aid?
It's very simple. It's because the Israeli military won't let it in. We could end this starvation tomorrow very simply if they would just let us have access to people there, but it's not being allowed. This is what they said on the 7th of October. Nothing will go in, and so it remains the case. And for people in the north of Gaza, it's even worse because no food is reaching them anymore. And so my own staff, my own colleague Abir, has been eating animal feed. And horrifyingly, the food that they were eating, which is food for horse and donkeys, is now running out, and now they're eating birdseed. The statistics also tell their own story. 1 in 6 children under the age of 2 in the north of Gaza are now acutely malnourished. This is the fastest decline in a population's nutrition status ever recorded, and what that means is that children are being starved at the fastest rate the world has ever seen. And we could finish it tomorrow. We could save them all, but we're not being able to.
We're witnessing the fastest decline in a population's nutrition status ever recorded. Again, all of this is purposeful. Israel is choosing to starve Gazans. It is all deliberate. And as they allow aid to trickle in, they then open fire on the population when it gets a little bit too rowdy as they starve to death because of Israel. It's just so sickening. And as this war goes on, with how many atrocities that we've seen that are just beyond the pale and indescribable, I don't even know what else to say. The fact that it's gone on this long, it makes me lose hope for humanity, that we can all collectively sit back and watch this happen and there's nothing we can do. It's genuinely despicable and nauseating. Now, Congressman Ro Khanna questioned Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin about Israel's refusal to let aid in, and he asked if there's going to be any consequence at all for all the war.
They're desperate, and we would be too. Yep. People trample others in this country for TVs. Yep.
Crimes they're committing, perhaps maybe cutting off weapons at a minimum. I know, difficult to hear that possibility because we've got to keep giving them weapons to kill innocent Palestinians. But as you're going to see, Lloyd Austin had no good response because there won't be any consequences. Let's watch.
Cindy McCain, the head of the World Food Program, has said that the Palestinian children are starving. Extremist settler Stomrich, Israel's finance minister, stopped American flour, which our taxpayers paid for to get into Gaza. If Israel again ever stops American-paid aid from getting into Gaza, will you commit to not sending future arms cells?
Again, that's...
It's a yes or no question. It's a very, very, very simple question. So like anything that's other than a yes or no, it's just bullshit. Like there's nothing worth listening to after that. It's a waiting game, yeah.
That's not my decision. I would, number one...
You're the defense secretary, dude. What are you talking about?
Do what I've been doing and engage the leadership and encourage them to ensure that humanitarian assistance...
Not good enough.
...is getting...
Mr. Secretary, I would just say, and I have one more question, that we need some consequences when another country is defying you, defying the National Security Advisor, defying the President, defying National Security Memorandum 20. There has to be some consequence. And then I was surprised John Kirby said that Israel is taking more precautions than the U.S. military would to protect civilian life.
Which is, by the way, not even close. Believe it or not, it's not even close.
Mr. Austin, Secretary Austin, isn't that statement inaccurate given Israel has used hundreds of 22,000-pound dumb bombs when there were no place for civilians to go? Would the U.S. government ever target terrorists with 2,000-pound bombs in a densely populated area?
Well, it depends on...
Oh boy. Oh boy.
On the situation, and again...
But would we, have we done that?
It depends on the situation. There's no situation on planet Earth, on any alternate reality, here or otherwise, that would justify 2,000-pound bombs dropped in a heavily dense civilian population just to get a terrorist. Under no circumstances is that okay, acceptable. What are you talking about?
Use 45% of bombs that are unguided or a 2,000-pound bomb. I mean, do you really think that the Israeli government military is taking more precautions than the United States military would?
I think, just based upon the results in terms of the law,
No, stop. It's a simple yes or no question, and based on what results, okay? Based on like the Israeli conservative numbers, assuming we just kind of take their word for it, Hamas is still very much operational, right? Like Hamas is what, 70% operational, maybe a little bit under. If we're being the most generous of generous and we're accepting the numbers from the Israeli government, that means that they've only dealt with 30%. So this isn't about Hamas anymore. Let's not pretend. What democracy am I trying to save? Joe? The Supreme Court doesn't care what people want. The Republicans sure don't, and neither do you. So you want to burn democracy down? You can do it without me. Yeah, see, that's the thing, right? Like, that's exactly the point I was getting at. If people don't feel like there's a win here, they're just people are just not going to play the game. They're going to stay home. Who's going to play this guy in a movie?
Significant loss of life.
Gentleman's time's expired, Chair. And I
Now, he was also asked about whether or not weapons to Israel would be cut off since they're using them to commit war crimes, and knowingly giving weapons to a state that is using them to commit war crimes is a violation of international law. And of course, Lloyd Austin didn't give a direct answer to that, even though at the start of that exchange, he admitted that Israel has killed more than 25,000 innocent civilians. But doesn't matter. Going to keep funding them, going to keep on vetoing ceasefire resolutions on the UN Security Council. It doesn't matter. And they are pretending as if they're oblivious to everything that's going on. They're acting as if they don't.
Yeah, like, again, no matter what any of these people say, they genuinely don't care and are not willing. These are conscious decisions that they're making. This particular administration right now. To facilitate this ethnic cleansing. I mean, this is the third time that a ceasefire has been vetoed by the U.S.
Have access to the same information that we all have, right? When in actuality, they know more than us. They have more intelligence of us. So if anything, they know how much worse it is on the ground, but yet not going to make any changes. And to make matters even worse, it seems like a ground invasion of Rafah is now imminent, even though the Biden administration has tried to discourage Israel from doing this. But of course, Israel isn't listening because they know that they can do whatever they want. And the Biden administration is still going to continue to support them. And to make matters even worse, the Biden administration is now expressing concerns that a ground invasion of Lebanon is possible. And yet, I still don't hear any possible change in policy towards Israel. This is a rogue state that needs to be sanctioned and cut off from the international community entirely. But we can't even get the U.S. government to agree to stop sending them more weapons that they're using against innocent civilians. What the fuck? It's just so frustrating to see them play dumb and to tell us to shut the fuck up when we criticize Biden over this. If you are somebody who is trying to scold anyone for speaking out against this, shame on you. If you're a Biden supporter, you can vote for him because we all acknowledge that Trump is worse. But if you tell people, don't you dare criticize him, you really need to look in the mirror because maybe you're in a cult just like MAGA supporters.
True.
But, apparently you have to let Biden continue to use our tax dollars in perpetuity to support this. Otherwise, you clearly haven't thought through the consequences of electing somebody who wants to have a Muslim ban, right, Mitch Landrieu? It's so frustrating, so disheartening to see this. Again, voters are warning him months in advance that they will not vote for him if he continues to do this. They can choose to take that threat seriously or disregard it. It's up to them, right? Nobody can make them do anything. But they don't.
He said weeks ago he can't do anything. We believe you, Joe. Yeah, can't or won't. I'm not gonna pull the lever for genocide. I'll save what morality I have left.
They don't get to blame voters if they lose in November. They don't get to pin the death of American democracy on voters if Trump wins, because Biden has chosen to prioritize Netanyahu's genocide over American democracy. And I'm going to leave you with some wise words from Mehdi Hasan.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect analysis of this. Like, you can't if Biden loses, I don't want to freaking hear it. I don't want to hear it at all from these freaking liberals. I really don't. Because it is now March, okay? It is now March. There are 7 months? 7 months to the election, give or take, okay? I'm not doing quick maths out the top of my head, but there's about 7 months left, okay? You want to know something? The poll numbers haven't moved that much. In fact, the poll numbers, they're looking worse, okay? The trend, not just one outlier poll, not just even a couple of outlier polls, the trend, the aggregate of polls is not looking great. It's just not. Okay? And F and the news for their coverage of this. 8 months, okay. 8 months. So if, because time keeps ticking, okay, in a few more months, okay, in a few more months, there won't be any time, there won't be any chance to turn this around, okay? I'm talking only strictly on terms of like, the electoral side of things.
Who explains how foolish Biden is being here by continuously going along with every single thing the Israeli government wants.
I also think it's crazy that Joe Biden is willing to wreck his presidency potentially and American democracy if Trump gets back in for Benjamin Netanyahu, a man who has basically, I can't find the daytime language for it, done bad things to every Democratic president in my lifetime. Bill Clinton struggled with Netanyahu, Barack Obama struggled with Netanyahu, and now Biden could sacrifice his own presidency. For who? For Bibi?
True. True.
The Republican Party in Missouri is trying to distance themselves from a candidate running for governor under the Republican banner, a man by the name of Darrell Leon McClanahan, who describes himself as a pro-white candidate who at one point in his...
Yeah, so, like, just to understand, like, the ramifications of this, the consequences here, like, domestically. For anyone to do this is horrific. For Israel to do it is historically horrific. This will forever be linked with Hitler in the history's long view. Yeah, history will not be kind. History will not be kind to this era. History will not be kind to Israel. History will not be kind to this government.
His life, but only for a year, he insists. Only a year. He was an honorary member of the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK. Liked him so much that they made him an honorary member, for just 1 year, he says. He said, no big deal, just 1 year. But again, the Republican Party in Missouri, now that this has become public and has become an issue they have to deal with, have kind of disavowed him, but they have not taken the step of saying, you can't run as a Republican, we don't want you in our party. They just said, quote,
Yeah, we don't agree with that. Shame on him. Landom Lazy Lizard Lounge, welcome. Welcome.
That he is fundamentally contradicts our party's values and platform. And they're
Right. So if somebody fundamentally contradicts your party's values and platform, then why are they there representing your party's values and platform, right? Like, you can't simultaneously say, you know, a dude who was a KKK member for a year because they liked him so much contradicts your party's values and, you know, belief systems and platform, whatever, and still let him be on the party, right? Like, it makes no sense. The issue here, it seems, is that he got caught. Okay, that's the issue. The issue is that he got caught. The simulacra, the platform is just to not say all of it out loud, just some of it. Yeah, it's exactly. The issue here is that he was caught. True.
they're trying to remove his name off the ballot. Now, Mr. McClanahan, again, remember, the former honorary member of the KKK, is pissed off. He says, the Missouri GOP knew exactly who I am. What a bunch of anti-white hypocrites.
Damn, really not.
He argued.
Whew, really not beating the accusations, huh? Just saying it with his chest. And Nazi salutes at CPAC, not cool. Nazi values at CPAC. Right, again, the issue is that the issue isn't that the Nazis were at CPAC. The issue is that it became a PR poop storm when they started, doing their Nazi shit.
A couple years ago, when he tried to sue the Anti-Defamation League for calling him a white supremacist, he argued in court, he said, I'm a pro-white man, horseman, politician, political prisoner, activist who is dedicated...
What? Jesus Christ. The victim mentality on this guy is amazing.
...to traditional Christian values. And he also, again, said he had the honorary one-year membership in the KKK. So he swears he's not a white supremacist, although his...
Yeah, no, I'm not a white supremacist. It's just coincidence that the white supremacists find me agreeable enough to make me one of their honorary members. Cool. What? How does that make sense? Explain that one to me. Firefly. What a weird thing to list there. Maybe he meant to say cowboy. I don't know. Yeah, this is wild. I'm not a white supremacist. It's just that white supremacists seem to make me an honorary member of theirs.
First reaction to the Republicans not wanting him is like, you're anti-white. And he says he's pro-white. But, it doesn't necessarily mean he's anti-other races, even though he had the honorary one-year membership in the KKK. Do they charge membership fees?
They probably do.
I'm curious. It was an honorary membership. It was like a 1-year free trial to see if you like it. You can cancel anytime. I'm very curious about how the honorary membership...
I mean, they honestly, it probably... They probably just included him because, they felt like they could... They're like, oh, wow, this guy represents our values. Let's put him in as an honorary member because he represents our values. That's the conversation that happened, okay? Because, what's the point of making a person of an honorary member of your crew or your group or your ideology if you don't feel like they represent you? Does that make sense? Just because we agree with all their values doesn't make us Nazis. First of all, we're not German. Duh. True. Phenomenal.
In a massive hate group works. But here's the thing. That lawsuit, by the way, against the ADL that he had filed was, of course, tossed because the court decided, yeah, you kind of fit
don't
the
have
description
standing
of what the ADL said about you. Here's the thing. This isn't about Mr. McClanahan at all. The problem the Republican Party has is that you have people that embrace these pro-white policies, we'll call them, pro-white stances and ideologies that feel at home in your party.
Yeah, it's just a natural conclusion of the conservative ideology. I don't know why people are surprised by this, right?
So the Republican Party needs to reflect on itself
It won't.
and answer the
It
question.
It can't. Because it fundamentally, it's just the natural progression of this ideology, right? Like it's not, there's no introspection. Like I say it, but there isn't going to be an introspection because it's not, they know, okay?
Why do racists feel so comfortable with us?
They don't ask themselves that question, because they know. They don't need to ask themselves. They don't need to ask themselves these questions because it's par for the course. This is the natural conclusion and progression of this ideology. There isn't going to be a internal reckoning. Okay.
I mean, you don't want to be the party of racists, do you? You don't.
They are. Yes. They are, and yes. they are, and yes. They do. The problem is with all fascists is that they can't be too out of they can't say the loud the quiet parts out loud too much. They need to normalize, and thus far they've been doing a pretty good job, but sometimes you get things like this. But yeah, they have to normalize this kind of behavior first. That's the goal. At least if you're at least with fascist movements that are a little bit more on the smarter side.
Don't want to be the party of racism.
But they are.
But you are. And you know exactly why you are. You know exactly why racists feel comfortable running under the banner of the GOP.
Right, because that's their party. Okay?
This has been happening in this country since the Civil Rights Act was passed. The famous quote, "Oh, we just cost the Democrats the South for a generation." Well, it's been a hell of a lot longer than a generation at this point. And Republicans will be the first to tell you, well, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican and he freed the slaves. Democrats founded the KKK. Yeah, they sure did. Nobody's arguing that. But which party is the KKK, even some of their former honorary members, running under today? Which party's still out there flying the Confederate flag?
Yeah, but none of these people are going to really truthfully engage with this conversation in good faith, right? Religious conservatives start with the conclusion and work to make the world fit it. It's literally the anti-scientific method. Yep. So it can't be rational or everything falls apart. Exactly. Like you start like just asking a couple of questions. It's like just the Socratic method and making them explain to you how this works. They can't. They can't without admitting some really horrible stuff. Okay? And they know that, so the more you kind of just probe around that, the more dancier, dancing around, dancier? I don't know, whatever. The point is, like, the more you poke around and force them to make, to explain it to you how it works, the more they dance around their words, because it clicks, right? Like, especially the ones who actually don't really think the ideology through. They're just like complete ideologues, cultists, cult members. When it clicks, as Hambus just says, they get angry, and shut off, because realizing how horrible and the inevitable and horrifying conclusion that this makes, usually just makes them more and more defensive. Because after all, how could I be such a horrible person?
Flag. It's not the Democrats. Nope. That's you guys. So maybe stop trying
You
to
mean my ideology ends up in genocide and the loss of civil rights and completely anti-democratic by nature? No, that can't be. It can't be me. Yeah, it is. It is.
to cling to like that one good Republican that existed in history, right? Abraham Lincoln. Maybe stop trying to cling to that and ask yourself, if Abraham Lincoln were alive today, would he even want to be a part of this party? Because
I don't even know. I don't even know if I would even like go down that route, but yeah, it's pretty disturbing the fact that like, and by the way, the point of this video is to point out that like, this is the type, this is what we're facing, right? We're having like more and more open white supremacist people, not just coming out of like just small fringes, but they're winning elections. They're being more engaged in winning positions in local governments and state governments and federal government positions too.
pretty sure we all know the answer to that.
Which brings me to this one. So Congressman Mike Collins, by the way, he's been doing overtime trying to backpedal this clear Nazi dog whistle. I've had this account blocked because they're a freaking Nazi account. But Garbage Human is a Nazi account, okay? And they posted they posted this. Now, if you're like a normie, you may not quite get it. But if you've been doing this for quite a while and you're kind of like in it in terms of like being online and into politics, you immediately understand without any further context. What this is. Like, can anybody tell me? Like, if anybody just looking at this without any further context, does anybody understand what this means? The invasion of the SS. No invasion. They were here the whole time. And you can't tell me there aren't some smart enough to play the game. It's the one bad argument. One bad apple argument. Yeah. Like, does anybody understand what's happening here? I would argue, Hambliss, that there are plenty of people who know exactly what they're doing. If you got 10 open races, you've got 100 hidden ones. Yep. So what this Nazi account is basically insinuating is, what they mean is, in case you were wondering, yes, she is. They're meaning that she's Jewish, okay? Because of course. Get it? It's the whole, like, Jewish people are, controlling everything. Yeah. That's the implication of, in case you're wondering, yes, she is. She is what? They mean Jewish. And of course, we have a U.S. Congress representative immediately replying to a Nazi account, implying, this anti-Semitic dog whistle. Never was a second thought. Like, dog whistle received and confirmed by this congressperson. And very quickly, people started to pick up on that and like, hey, what do you mean by this? Okay. Like, would you enlighten us? I mean, it doesn't take like that much digging into to see what nothing to clarify, skill issue. This is a Nazi. Trump crusader. He understands. BIPOC doing racism, which I imagine this is another Nazi account. He means she's Jewish. Cry more. Nazi account. Nazi account. The jig is up. Everyone's beginning to notice. Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't really take that far. Like, you don't have to dig far. You don't have to dig far to realize what's going on here, right? And like, you didn't even have to take 5 seconds to know what this account is about. You could just scroll through their account. It's very obvious. In fact, I think they even defended this by not even like denying the I blocked their shit. I'm not gonna run through this, but they justified it by saying like, "Oh, I've been called many things, but a liar isn't one of them." So like, yeah, message received. The congressman knew what they were doing. Okay, the congressman knew what they were doing. Or the staffer, as Voice points out. Yeah, listen, my staffer, my staffer got a little rowdy. Okay, yeah. Here, follow-up question: if it was the staffer, what kind of people are you hiring, and why? You know, it seems to be a constant theme, right? Like Ron DeSantis's campaign. It seems to be a problem within the GOP that Nazis find themselves, just popping up. Whether it be its Congress people or their staffers. Okay, like that. What's that meme? Like, oh, you do know how much. Wait, it's not worse. Is it worse? Yeah, it's worse because like, aren't staffers like your aides making like things for you? I don't know, man. If it was not that, if it was a staffer, like what is a Nazi doing as your staffer? What does that say about you? You couldn't be bothered to. You couldn't be bothered to vet the staffers that are writing your tweets? But don't worry. This dude doubled down on it, of course. Because of course he did. 2024 more dangerous than 1944? Wasn't that the end of, like, wasn't that closer to the end of the war? Anyways. Yep. So when people pointed this out to him, apparently the response was, I guess pointing out that a Washington Post journalist using crime because she believes U.S. is on stolen land makes her a garbage human being is anti-Semitic. No, man. You know, you can play pretend, okay? You can play pretend and try to backpedal and make this about something that, something else. But we're not stupid, okay? We're not stupid, okay? This is a known Nazi account, okay? Like, if you read through the comments, nobody here is disputing what's happening. Like, I mean, you are now my favorite politician, says America First. Groip. This is a groiper, okay? A Nazi. Based. Yeah. It's not very much hidden at this point, right? The point is, like, the Republican Party is an active Nazi party, okay? And if you want to be the most generous, if you want to be as generous as possible, the Republican Party, at best, sorry, this is one of the responses here. Sorry, this one I meant to bring this one up too. At best, okay, if you want to be as charitable as possible, is harboring or coddling, dismissing, downplaying the very real Nazi elements that exist in its ranks. There's no strong repudiation, nothing. In fact, their response normally is to try to perform mental gymnastics to try to either say it didn't happen, or like, oh, you people are just calling everyone you disagree with Nazis, or downplaying the severity of it, but never once just having a strong statement and kicking these people out, and making strong statements like, hey, that shit doesn't fly here. Everyone who believes this need to get out. You can't be in our party. You can't run with us. You can't be in our events, whatever. Nothing. There's no, like, it's all, twisting themselves into pretzels to try to, like, weather the PR storm instead of just, like, actively taking an anti-Nazi stance, which is, like, the most simplest thing you could possibly do, right? Like, yeah, Nazis are bad and they don't belong here. Period. They can't do it. Yeah, the Democrats want them to be a strong party. We need a strong Republican Party, says Nancy Pelosi. Mike meant to use his Nazi Twitter account, not his congressional one, but he can't say that. Right, like, you can't sit at our table. Exactly. You can't sit on, like, nothing. Just twisting themselves into pretzels, performing Olympic levels of mental gymnastics, anything but acknowledging the very real problem that exists within the Republican Party. So the only conclusion is like, well, and at the very least, you are sympathetic to these people. You're harboring them. That's as if you want to be as lenient as possible. The reality is this is a borderline like Nazi party. Okay. Some of y'all have a rough time seeing something that ain't there, but don't give up in response to the very obvious and blatant dog whistle from a Nazi account. Okay, it's not just like a random account on Twitter. This isn't just like a random account on Twitter. Like, you know. How about we have a strong Democratic Party first? Yep. Yeah, I mean, like, you don't have to go far to understand what this account is about, you know? Look at all these accounts calling me a racist, an anti-Semite, and a neo-Nazi because of the things that I post. More notably, they're yet to call me a liar. Like, not even, like, there's no, like, I mean, do we need to even, like, go? Do we need to go any more further than this? I mean, like, come on, man. You get thrown in jail for asking why. It's the freaking Jewish question, dude. Come on. They're literally like JQ posting, okay? And here they admit, by the way. They admit that the whole point was to signal the dog whistle, right? The whole Nazi dog whistle. The whole point, like, they even admit here that the whole point is to signal, like, yeah, dude, the whole point of me doing this is to do an anti-Semitism. But like my defense of doing an anti-Semitism is just raising my hands and going, well, I'm just saying, you know, it's anti-Semitic to point out that somebody is Jewish when they are in fact Jewish. No, man, it's the implication behind that. Okay, Nazi coward. Like, again, Nazi shit. Like, Nazi shit. Just straight up Nazi shit. Like, explicitly Nazi shit. Look at this shit. Own the banks and the media? Yeah, I mean, we're taking things in order of importance. And you're also wrong, but more importantly, you're a Nazi. Right. Like, this is indisputable. Like, this is a Nazi account, right? And this dude's trying to, like, and this dude is trying to, like, worm his way out. No, dude. Come on, man. Did it really take me that long to, like, first of all, like, the moment I see, like, a Pepe on Twitter in 2024 is usually a little bit of a red flag. But all you have to do all you have to do is like take 5 seconds to scroll down the account, to make sure, like, you know, to understand what you're retweeting, okay? To know that this is a Nazi account. The whole point is to signal Nazi dog whistles, okay? And to then try to, you know, twist yourselves into pretzels to say that, like, we're not, you know, oh, you're seeing something that isn't there. Really? Bro's trying to gaslight us in 4K. Come on, man. You're doing Nazi shit, okay? And to try to claim that you're not, don't gaslight us, okay? Don't insult our intelligence. Okay? I post Pepe everywhere. No, man, Pepe posting is not the same as having like a weird, like, is not the same as having your profile picture as Pepe, when like it is a very kind of like well-known not symbol, but like it's common. Okay, it's common among a lot of these Nazi accounts to have the Pepe as their profile picture. Okay. Pepe on Twitch and Pepe on Twitter aren't the same. True. The simulacra hit it on the head there. Yeah, true. I'm my PFP. Exactly. It also doesn't mean every single Pepe. Okay, it's kind of part of the cover, but not every single Pepe and the profile picture means that you're automatically a Nazi. Okay, look, this is a left-wing account. Okay, not every single Pepe is a Nazi account. However, it seems to be a trend. But again, you could take 5 seconds to look at the account and know what you're retweeting. It's very obvious. This is a elected leader of Congress. This is an elected leader in Congress at the federal level. Doing Nazi shit, okay? And when called out, decides that the response is going to be twist myself into pretzels, perform mental gymnastics, and try to deny and gaslight people that it didn't happen. Well, it did, okay? I don't use Pepe because I'm too old to get the reference, and it's ugly. Nah, I mean, like, if you Pepe post, like, on chat, it's very different. I completely agree with the simulacra. Pepe on Twitch and Pepe on Twitter aren't the same. The same goes for, like, Discord. I have, like, Pepe emojis. But, yeah. I've posted Pepe on Twitter. It's just sus, I get it. Yeah, I mean, like, I've posted, like, Pepe in response. Like, Pepe GIFs in response. Again, that's not the same as, like, these groypers having, like, Pepe profile pictures. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, like, every single one of them is a Nazi account, but a lot of them are. Pepe is a trans girl culture. There you go. There you go. Anyways, the point being is that, like, with the Republican Party being more and more open with white supremacy versus the Republican Party that was at least trying to have some kind of thin veneer hiding behind, it's getting way more concerning that people like this feel comfortable to the point that they are doing this in the open. Does that make sense? That's the whole point of me bringing all of this up. Interest, yeah, I mean, you can look, to me, personal experience, okay, take this with a grain of salt. Personal experience on Twitter, yeah, it seems to be the case. There's also like a lot of like there's also another like trend with like these Nazis. They also like to use under the guise of like classical like Western chauvinism. They like to use marble head statues as profile pictures. So yeah, you can also you can also make a reasonable bet that yeah, those people are probably some kind of far right account. I love it. Taking it back, saw a documentary on Pepe. Is originally a cute thing that got twisted by the right. Yes, and now not so much. Now not so much. Now Pepe is a mix, depending on how you use said Pepe, and where. But yeah. Game streaming Twitch never really relinquished Pepe. Yep. I mean, you can, yeah. Yeah. These aren't lightning strikes for how thunderous that was, okay? Pepe posting with a Nazi account. Yeah. An actual serving U.S. representative speaking the truth? Yeah. Yeah. That's another Pepe account, as you can see. Not very subtle. The little Pepe profile picture with the not so subtle name. So I think the point is across. The point has been made. It's incredibly disturbing to see the trend that these Republican conservative politicians are being more and more and more and more open at all levels, from state to federal. We had aides, staffers, like all these like Nazi elements, whether directly working with or adjacent to the Republican Party, becoming more and more out. I mean, like as if Nick Fuentes and his Groyper movement having their influence shown isn't enough. The dude had lunch with the former president. I mean, how high enough is that, where you have like a prominent neo-Nazi having dinner with the former president? We also had the Ron DeSantis campaign with Nazis in it doing fascist, advertising. That was not that long ago, folks. That was not that long ago. The big game streamers tend to be reactionary, but there's also been plenty of decent people in it too. Yep, that's true. All that to say is that this is the consequences of a Republican Party being in power, right? Like, this is the ideology that is slow rolling its way into power, and the Democratic Party is playing games, not listening to constituents, ignoring people, and telling the very people that are angry with them, their own voters, that you just have to shut up and vote for them, because you have to just bend the knee. Never mind what the party is going to offer in terms of policy. Just shut up and vote for us because the other people are worse. Shifting gears here to news for tomorrow. Super Tuesday is tomorrow. Here's what to expect. Trump basically securing the nomination, and Biden secure. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, in my opinion, that Trump and Biden aren't going to end up being the nominees. I guess what would be interesting is to see if there's the same kind of movement to vote uncommitted in the Democratic primary, and see how much that garners. I don't know, the Michigan campaign was very organized and was very pointed. I don't know if there's, that much organization in other states, but tomorrow is Super Tuesday. And I personally would say that if you do have that option to vote uncommitted, voters in 16 states and one territory will make their voices heard tomorrow in the biggest primary election day of 2024, also known as Super Tuesday. The biggest single primary contest day will result in over a third of delegates assigned to determine the Republican presidential nominee. Wait, is it Super Tuesday for both, or just the Republican party? As a result, this is effectively former ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley's last shot to slow press. No, it's not happening. Someone stole my username, man. Both. Okay, gotcha. That not happening. Haley's campaign launching 7-figure national cable and digital ad buy that they just flushed down the toilet to run through at least Tuesday in hopes of winning over votes. Her campaign has also been crisscrossing the U.S. in the final days ahead of March 5th to meet as many voters as possible. Oi, there we go. Trump will be entering the week coming off wins in Haley's home state of South Carolina, winning 60% of the vote, and Michigan, where he secured 70% of the vote. While Trump does lead on delegate count and votes, having won every primary but one so far, Haley is still securing a third of voters, which could be an eventual concern for Trump, in what's shaping up to be a general election rematch with President Biden on November 5th. Super Tuesday is not the end of the primary season. The remaining states that will vote through the summer and fall on their primary slates. Republicans will gather in July in Milwaukee for their convention, and Democrats will gather in Chicago in August to select their candidate. It is known as Super Tuesday because that's when votes will be tallied from the most states at once in the presidential primary. The states holding primary elections that conclude on March 5th are Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Texas, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, and Virginia. Democrats in U.S. territory of American Samoa will also be caucusing, and Democrats in Iowa will be releasing the results of their presidential preference caucus. American Samoa's Republican presidential caucus will be held on Friday. Because voting will take place across 6 time zones, it may take hours and days to determine the winners of delegates and the winning party candidates to move on to the general election for governor, state legislature, and congressional seats. In some states, it may take longer to count in mail-in ballots. For example, in California, mail-in ballots must be postmarked by March 5th and received by March 12th, meaning not all votes will be tallied on Tuesday, especially for races with close margins. Final polls will start closing at 7 p.m. Eastern in Virginia and Vermont. A threat to who? To nobody. Nobody. I don't know why, like, anyone in their mind would even write the words like, oh yeah, Nikki Haley, she's got a shot. No. Really, basically, Trump and Haley will be the options on the Republican presidential primary ballot. President Biden will be an option for Democrats, though Democratic Representative Dean Phillips of Minnesota is still running a long shot challenge. But candidates who have dropped out will still appear on the ballot in some places because the rules to get on the ballot in each state. So while voters might be able to vote for entrepreneur Ramaswamy or businessman Brian Binkley on the Republican side, those candidates are not in the race. As for third-party options like Robert F. Kennedy and Cornel West, those candidates will not be on the major party ballot because they're not running. Well, thanks. I know. Okay. Most eyes will be on the presidential race, particularly for Republicans. Voters will be also making decisions on their final slate of candidates in the Senate, House, and governor's race that can determine political control of Congress and states for the next 2 to 4 years. In California, voters will get their say on the Democratic nominee for the Senate seat long held by Dianne Feinstein, now occupied by LaFonza Butler. Because it is a solidly blue seat, the primary would likely signal the front-runner for the election in November, though it may take several days to determine the winner due to mail-in voting. North Carolina votes in a high-stakes gubernatorial race. The state legislature is currently controlled by Republicans, and Democratic Governor Roy Cooper has reached his term limit, leaving an open seat. So, there is value in paying attention to some of these. Texas will pick up Democratic challenger to Senator Ted Cruz, who's seeking a third term. 9 Democratic candidates are looking to be Cruz's opponent in the fall. Alabama will be voting under a new congressional map that opened new districts in the state's southwest corner. Last fall, a federal court decided on Alabama's new congressional map, which is likely to result in a Democratic member of the U.S. House. So, yeah. That's the value in paying attention on these races here. So if you live in any one of these states, definitely I would argue to participate, especially in these states. California, North Carolina, Texas, Alabama. Mouselander, welcome. We're going to run through this one pretty quickly. Former Trump CFO Weisselberg pleads guilty to perjury. Former Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg has pleaded guilty on Monday, today, to perjury charges, the Manhattan DA said. His guilty plea caps several weeks of talks with Manhattan prosecutors after Weisselberg gave false testimony during former President Trump's civil fraud trial last fall. Weisselberg will receive 5 months in jail at sentencing, slated to take place in April 10th. This is Weisselberg's second guilty plea in a criminal case involving his work with the Trump Organization. He pleaded guilty to tax fraud and was sentenced to serve 5 months. Weisselberg was charged with 5 counts of perjury and ultimately pleaded to 2 counts on Monday. 2 felony counts of perjury were related to Weisselberg's 2020 interview with the New York Attorney General's office in the lead up to the civil fraud case. As part of Monday's plea deal, Weisselberg admitted that he committed the conduct underlying the 3 additional counts of perjury. Prosecutors had accused Weisselberg of lying on the witness stand when he testified at Trump's civil fraud trial in October and lying under oath at a deposition last year. Quote, "It is a crime to lie in depositions at a trial. Plain and simple," said a spokesperson for Manhattan DA. Alan Weisselberg took an oath to be truthful and then committed perjury. Ace Frehley, such a light sentence. Yeah, because he pled. Weisselberg's lawyer said in a statement his client looks forward to putting his situation behind them. I haven't heard Weisselberg's name in a while. Yep. I guess this is finally resolving. I say white-collar crimes are worse than violent crime. Depends on the white-collar crime. New York Judge Arthur Engoron last month ordered Trump, his companies, and fellow defendants to pay about $364 million for committing years of financial fraud. Engoron ruled that Weisselberg, one of the defendants, owed $1 million. Trump appealed this decision and offered to post a partial bond in an effort to halt collection of the penalties until his appeal is complete. A New York appellate judge rejected his request last week and ordered Trump to post bond for the full amount in order to stay enforcement of the judgment. Yeah. Womp womp. Yeah, I mean, well. Surprise, surprise. The CFO of the Trump organization admitted to perjury. This one also will go quickly. Congress eyes votes on major government funding bill to avoid shutdown this weekend. Congressional leaders released a massive government funding bill with plans to pass it and avert a shutdown. Again, playing political football. I don't even know, like, I don't even know if it's even worth covering, unless it actually happens. It just feels like this is playing constant political football. I don't even know if it's worth covering. But yeah, it seems like as far as the government shutdown, it seems like they may come to an agreement. They may avert a government shutdown by the weekend. White collar crime is one of the biggest drivers of violent crime, right? So, like, it depends, right? So I totally get where Ace Frehley is coming from. On that note, also, welcome, Conscious Canuck. House Republicans are eyeing a vote on the measure Wednesday, 2 days from now, through a fast-track process that requires 2/3 majority to pass, according to a leadership aide. That satisfies Speaker Mike Johnson's promise to give members at least 72 hours to read the bill. Then it would go to the Senate, where it will need a unanimous consent vote to quickly and require 60 votes. Republicans highlight cuts to the FBI, defunding the police. Wow. Good job. Good job, Republicans. Defunding the EPA. So pro air pollution, pro unclean water, pro poisoning our food. Cool. Defunding the ATF. So again, defunding the police. Except for the DEA, because, we need money for the drug war, pro-drug war. Measures that bolster gun rights for veterans, ? Asterisks. Restrictions on oil sales to China. Republicans noted that this was the first time since 2018 that the government was not funded through one massive omnibus package. First day back to work and I got 1 hour of unsolicited overtime. Jeez. House Republicans secured key conservative policy victories, rejected left-wing proposals. Cool. And imposed sharp cuts to agencies and programs critical to President Biden's agenda. We own the libs. Democrats celebrated the bill fully funds the WIC programs for women, infants, and children, as well as rental assistance, firefighter pay raise, and new investments in new air traffic controllers. Guessing they were hurting without you. Yeah. Wouldn't be if they needed you for an extra hour, huh? Speaking to reporters, Leader Chuck Schumer said he was working around the clock to try to hammer out the details of the package. Yada, yada, yada. If anything comes up from this, we will talk about it. But yeah, it seems like the political football has been punted, so to speak. Alright, we gotta talk about this. The Supreme Court rules that states can't remove Trump from the presidential election ballot. The Supreme Court today unanimously reversed Colorado's ruling that barred President Trump from appearing on the state's Republican presidential primary because of a provision in the Constitution on insurrection. The Supreme Court ruling means that no other state can bar Trump or any candidate from now on from a presidential ballot or election for Congress by invoking the insurrection clause of the Constitution. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which was adopted after the Civil War, says that no person can serve as an officer of the U.S. who had previously taken an oath of federal office engaged in insurrection or rebellion. Colorado was the first of 3 states to block Trump from a primary ballot on those grounds due to his alleged incitement of the January 6th insurrection, not riot, which disrupted the confirmation of President Biden's Electoral College victory over Trump. Like, I love the framing of this because like it really hammers down like the it really sells the undemocratic side, because like they don't, you know, the framing is like he won the Electoral College victory, right? It's not like am I making sense? Like the way the way they're framing it is like a perfect encapsulation of the issues here. Anyways, I'm off on a tangent. Replace the name Donald Trump with any other candidate and the decision changes. I don't care what the article says. Joe Biden's Electoral College victory over the incumbent Trump. We conclude that states may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold office, said the Supreme Court, but states have no power under the Constitution to enforce Section 3 with respect to the federal office, especially the presidency. To be fair, the state's argument isn't that it's their job to enforce it. The state's argument is that it's self-executing. They're just following what the Constitution says, right? For the reasons given, responsibility for enforcing Section 3 against federal office holders and candidates rests with Congress and not the states. The judgment of the Colorado Supreme Court therefore cannot stand. The decision did not conclude one way or another if Trump had engaged in insurrection, because that's not what was being debated here. That's not up for debate, right? The question was whether or not that ruling by the state was correct. Trump was the clear favorite to win the GOP nomination, and a True Social post reacted to the ruling as a big win for America. Your favorite president, me. Later, during remarks from his home in Florida, Trump said the voters can take somebody out of the race very quickly, but a court shouldn't be doing that, and the Supreme Court said that very well. What? It was a very important decision, very well crafted. I think it will go a long way towards bringing our country together, which our country needs. Colorado State Secretary Jenna Griswold, in an interview, said, "My larger reaction is disappointment. I do believe the state should be able under our Constitution to bar oath-breaking insurrectionists." The president of a nonprofit advocacy group, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, which represent the plaintiffs in the case, said the Supreme Court failed to meet the moment by allowing Trump to back on the ballot in Colorado, even as it did not exonerate him from engaging in insurrection. The But it is now clear that Trump led the January 6th insurrection, and it will be up to the American people to ensure accountability. The decision, which means that votes Trump garners on Tuesday's ballot, will be counted for will count for the former president, was not a surprise. During oral arguments, many of the court's 9 justices appeared skeptical, for different reasons, though. I think the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States. Wait a minute. Barring you from, first of all, barring you from running on a primary is not the same thing. Barring you from running on a primary is not the same thing. Second of all, they're not arguing that the state has the ability to do so. They're saying that the Constitution's, clause that they're arguing is self-executing, and that they're just doing what the Constitution says, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. So what they're saying is that as soon as you declare a candidacy for POTUS, the Constitution no longer applies for you. It's Congress's job, apparently. It's Congress's job. But in a concurring opinion Monday, Kagan and the other liberals in the court, Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, wrote that they disagreed with the finding by the 5 conservative justices that disqualification for insurrection can only occur when Congress enacts a particular kind of legislation pursuant to Section 5 of the 14th Amendment. In doing so, the majority shuts the door on other potential means of federal enforcement. We cannot join an opinion that decides momentous and difficult issues unnecessarily, and therefore concur only in the judgment. The 3 justices also accused the 5 conservatives, in their opinion, of attempting to insulate all alleged insurrectionists from future challenges to their holding in office. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, a conservative, in her own concurring opinion, agreed with the 3 liberals that the case did not require the Supreme Court to rule that only congressional legislation could enforce the insurrection clause. The suit was brought by Colorado voters under state law and state court. It does not require us to address the complicated question whether federal legislation is the exclusive vehicle through which Section 3 can be enforced. But Barrett added, in my judgment, it is not the time to amplify disagreements with stridency. The court has settled a politically charged issue with the volatile season of a presidential election, she wrote. Particularly in the circumstance, the writing on the court should turn down the national temperature, not up. Yeah, but like you're basically saying, you're essentially saying that should you be found to engage in insurrectionary behavior, that like now, it's quite possible that you engage in this behavior and the Constitution doesn't apply to you. We see that the checks and balances are starting to erode, right? Because they're saying this falls on Congress. Well, Congress right now is the Congress right now is controlled by the Republicans in the House and barely the Democrats in the Senate, right? There are no checks and balances in that case, is what you're saying. Is what the end course of this is. In a ruling in November, a Denver District Court judge ruled that Trump could appear on Colorado's ballot despite her belief that he had engaged in insurrection by inciting the insurrection. The deadly attack led members of Congress to flee the House and Senate, delaying hours of certification, yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, I think it's important to kind of understand this. I think this was a pretty good analysis here. From this article here. I'll post the link in chat. 5 members also announced that disqualification can only happen pursuant to congressional legislation. The responsibility of enforcing Section 3 against federal office holders and candidates rests with Congress and not the states. As 3 justices, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson pointed out, this makes no sense. First, the text of the disqualification clause itself explicitly negates the implication that when, after laying out that no person shall be a senator, representative in Congress, or elector of president and vice president that engaged in insurrections, it says, but Congress may, by a vote of 2/3, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. That simple phrase carries two implications. First, it makes perfectly clear that another body can affect the disability. As Judge Luttig wrote in a brief, the words remove such disability in the 14th Amendment confirm that the candidate is currently disqualified and will remain disqualified, and unless there's an affirmative vote, then they can remove that disqualification. You see, it's backwards. It's backwards. Second, the phrase makes clear that it takes 2/3 of Congress to eliminate that disability. So, like, you're automatically disqualified. However, if 2/3 of Congress votes on it, then you are eligible. Does that make sense? It's not the other way around. Both the 5 justices announced today ignores that the 2/3 requirement completely, and instead empowers half of Congress to block the disqualification of an insurrectionist by opposing any legislation to do so. As Justice Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson wrote, in fact, the text cuts the opposite way. Section 30 provides that when an oath-breaking insurrectionist is disqualified, Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 in each house, remove such disability. Like, this is not this is not unambiguous, right? It is hard to understand why the Constitution would require a congressional supermajority to remove a disqualification if a simple majority could nullify Section 3's operation by repealing or declining to pass implementing legislation. So today's decision cuts the entire working of the disqualification clause from a mandatory disability that 2/3 of Congress must overcome to a disability that just half of Congress can negate by refusing to legislate. Looks like textualism is optional and inconvenient to some justices. More broadly, Luttig also makes the powerful point that Congress is not a good place to determine disqualification, especially exclusively. First, as in this case, because they have an egregious conflict of interest. Numerous members are implicated because they were directly involved in the January 6th and what came before it. And of course, they're not going to disqualify themselves or their colleagues. Yeah, this makes absolutely no sense. Also, like, even if they didn't participate, they didn't participate in the insurrection, they are in the same party, and by definition, they have a conflict of interest, and they have a incentive to obviously rule in favor of, or vote in favor of Trump. Like, if a person engages in insurrection, the whole point of having that clause is to automatically be disqualified by default. Correct. He is to automatically be disqualified by default. And if 2/3 of Congress decide to remove that disqualification, that's another story. Second, as Luttig writes, Congress has unreviewable power over Section 3 disqualifications as some advocate that would lack all the safeguards and checks of rule of law, federalism, and separation of power. Congress consists of partisan politicians. There would be no requirements for evidence, procedural due process, recusals for bias, or bans in ex parte contexts, as we saw with how these impeachments went, right? Like, the Republican Party completely in the Senate was not. They were not going to. It didn't matter how much evidence was going to be presented. That outcome was already predetermined. Okay. But he's disqualified by default, but I was just a pre-law major for about a year. Might as well say, as soon as Eric Trump creates a miniaturized solar fusion reaction, the only thing 2/3 of Congress agreeing on is supporting the troops and giving them a pay raise. And money for war. Tax breaks. As bad any exclusive unreviewable power of Congress to adjudicate non-member disqualifications would go both ways. A bare majority in both houses of Congress could ignore even the clearest of presidential disqualifications. A third presidential term without any possibility of review by the courts. Nothing could be more contrary to federalism and separation of power than giving a bare majority in Congress such partisan power with no possibility of veto. One final note, Justice Thomas was one of the justices who weighed in on the case even though his wife was a leading participant and advocate in the days leading up to January 6th. His involvement here is tainted as any moment in the Supreme Court history. It is long past the other justices called this out. As I wrote the other day, courts are not going to save our democracy. It's on us. Keep going. Yeah, great analysis. And of course, Justice Thomas did not recuse himself, even though his wife is pretty directly implicated, in this January 6th stuff. So you know what? Apparently, insurrectionary behavior is acceptable, and the Supreme Court has decided that for some weird reason, Congress should deal with it, even though there are clear issues with this. Man, Trump having Mitch McConnell successfully blocking a Supreme Court pick during the Obama administration, and Donald Trump being able to get 3 Supreme Court justices has really paid off, huh? Must be nice. This doesn't really give me much confidence. As I was making the point, this doesn't really give me much confidence on the ever eroding guardrails to the extent that they exist. They're just slowly going away. So, again, in the event, thank you for the follow, Ace Freedom. In the event that Trump does end up winning the presidency, it seems more and more likely that maybe these authoritarian plans are more realistic than we would like to think, especially if we are in the mindset that surely there must be some kind of checks and balances. Surely there must be bureaucratic red tape and things that kind of help prevent any single one person or any single one party to move things unilaterally. But that doesn't seem to be the case as much, A dangerous game the Democratic Party is playing. Highly irresponsible. Yikes indeed. A very, very, very dangerous game, because what if the Supreme Court just says outright in this ludicrous case that they're also taking with regards to Trump? What if they say that actually Trump does have immunity? What if the Supreme Court says that Trump actually does have immunity? And on top of that, he wins the election. What does that hypothetical look like? We're about 2 seconds away from all that. It's quite possible. Or at the very least, it's not as, if you want to be more optimistic, it's not as unreasonable and it's not as exaggerated as we would like to believe. Well, he's very old and out of shape. Who, Trump? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not as far-fetched The fascists have no true replacement for a demagogue. Maybe. That may be the case. But even if they don't have a good replacement, this isn't going away. That's for sure. That's one thing. Even if he doesn't win the election, or even if he wins the election and like destroys all this shit, like and all of this goes through the process, you know, and he's done. That all of this is not. It's not going away. That's one thing for sure. You know, you may be right. They don't have anyone right now. But this whole like Trump thing, it's not going away. This whole fascism thing is not going away. I keep hoping for a lightning bolt while coughing. But anyways, yeah, not far-fetched. In my opinion, it's not as far-fetched as as I would like to believe. The problem is that once you anoint someone, they need to appoint a successor. Yeah. Trump is not, because he's too narcissistic, so silver lining, you know, as you know, Ace has pointed out, the silver lining in all of this is that, like, you know, fascists aren't really competent, and fascists, at least these fascists, are incredibly incompetent and incoherent. But nonetheless, the damage that they are capable of, is serious. So, you know, on that note, folks, I gotta get out of here. Okay, it's past 7. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to follow. It really does help us out. Thank you, Ace, for the follow. I appreciate that. If you're on the YouTube, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, share, like, you know, do all the awesome stuff. Spread the word. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you, Michael Hasser. Thank you, Heat. I appreciate it. Thank you for the folks on the YouTube. I'm almost done with dinner. Nice. Mighty Mouse, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hasser. Don't forget to join the Discord. Remember, folks, once a month there's movie night. If you want to support the channel, you can. Check out the merch store. Do the YouTube, do the social media stuff. I appreciate you guys. Spread the word, okay? It really does help us out. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hasser. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Can I get a shout out? Oh, shoot. Yes, you can. Whoa. Stop. Okay. Pause. 1 second, please. Hey, folks, if you have a second, consider following and joining the wonderful moderator Heat's stream channel. Okay, if you do, by the way, if you follow her channel and you do watch her live, you may or may not get to see some cool cats. Okay, so there's the selling point. All right, not just content, but you also get cats. Okay, you may or may not get cats. I'm just saying. Follow. Okay, show some support. All right. Back to the ending. See ya. All right, folks. Hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.